doctor came in, said, we don't know everything. He's got a couple heart defects and needs to go to St. Louis to have open heart surgery immediately. The transport team came and got him. My name's Caitlin Smiley. I've got a 3-year-old little boy named Bentlee who has a congenital heart defect. It was completely undiagnosed until he was born, so he pretty much came into this world. My nurse just caught on that something was wrong, called the NICU. They came for a consult, and his oxygen was 66%, and they took him immediately. They ruled out all respiratory issues, told us that he was considered cardiac, and then everything just kind of escalated from there. So, doctor came in, said, we don't know everything. He's got a couple heart defects and needs to go to St. Louis to have open heart surgery immediately. The transport team came and got him, took him. I left against medical advice, went to be with him, and then we made it just in time for his first procedure. So his heart was actually backwards in his chest.
Really?
Yeah, his major arteries were crossed, so it was sending deoxygenated blood to the body and then oxygenated blood to the lungs.
So just not getting much done.
Yeah, so was not functioning properly whatsoever. In addition to that, he also had a hole in between the atriums, so that hole was actually keeping him alive. So it was allowing
it's kind of a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, so it was allowing a small portion of blood to mix. So he was getting some oxygenated blood to his brain, so that was preventing any like seizures, strokes.
Was this all like the first day?
Yeah.
Wow,
yeah.
that's a stressful day. Holy cow.
He was born at 5:48 that morning, and we made it to St. Louis. By the time they got him transported, I left the hospital. We had to ride in the car to St. Louis, so we didn't get to go in the ambulance. Made it to St. Louis. We walked in right as they were about to call me to tell me that they were going to take him for his first surgery.
Mm-hmm.
We walked in. I was able to sign the release form, and at that time it was 10:30 at night. So it had just been a really, really long day.
Sounds like it.
But they took him back. Actually, they did this one bedside. So it was a catheter procedure. They did it through his belly button, and they inflated that hole to allow a larger portion of blood to mix to buy him a few days to get stronger, because they didn't really know at that point what his open heart surgery would look like. So time went by, and then at 5 days, we met with his surgeon, and they were like, we can't wait any longer. We've got to take him back.
Mm-hmm.
So he went back for a 10.5-hour open heart surgery. It's called the arterial switch operation. And they pretty much just cut everything apart and stitch it back together how it needs to be.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So at that time, they told us that they would be moving structures that were less than 1 millimeter in length. And so that was a little...
That's crazy they can do that stuff.
Yeah.
Is this something like that's happened to other babies like that? Mm-hmm. It's not...
Yeah. So they should have caught it in my anatomy scan. When I went in at 20 weeks, they were like, we think we see something in his heart, but we're not really sure.
That's scary.
Yeah. So they had me come back a second time, and they actually cleared him of any abnormalities.
Well, what would they be able to do while you're so pregnant if they had noticed?
Yeah, so there's nothing that they can do, but Bentlee would have gotten help a lot sooner, so he wouldn't have been like as oxygen deprived for that length of time. They would have had me deliver in St. Louis. And then they
that would make sense.
They would have been able to do a fetal echo, which is just a more in-depth look at his heart, to kind of just have a better game plan instead of just winging it pretty much. So we just had to like wait to find out, wait for the doctor to determine like what day he would have surgery. I think me and Creed would have been able. I mean, I don't really know how you prepare for something like that. But, like emotionally, we probably could have tried to prepare ourselves, but it was a toll on us financially. We just up and left for St. Louis for a month. Creed had a full-time job, so he had to, miss work, and Yeah, it was just emotionally, physically, financially, mentally draining. So at 5 days when they took him back for his surgery, they told us it would be about 6 to 8 hours long. And at 6 hours they called and they were like, Bentlee's actually bleeding out on the table. We are doing everything we can, but we just wanted you to know. And that is when it really kind of was a gut punch.
Yeah.
And then we didn't actually get another update for about 4.5 hours. So we had prepared ourselves that he had not made it.
It'd be rough.
Yeah. So we had prepared ourselves that he was not going to be coming out of surgery. When they finally called, they said that they needed me and Creed to go into a private waiting room by ourselves. So that just kind of made it all that much worse. And then the nurse walked out and was like, "Are you ready to go see your baby?" And I was like, "You guys couldn't have led with that on the phone."
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah, so we walked up. They had kind of tried to prepare us beforehand on what he would look like. But, I mean, he was just tubes and wires. So,
yeah.
I mean, he had his big incision. He was on a ventilator. He had chest tubes, pacemaker wires, catheters, all sorts of things. So, he was very swollen. They had him on a paralytic, so he could not move at all. He was still heavy on sedation, morphine. And then we were inpatient we got to go home December 21st. So we made it home right before Christmas, but...
and this is like December 21st is a month later after you had him?
No, so it was, he was born December 6th. We came home December 21st.
Gotcha. That's a long time still.
Yeah, it was we lived in a camper on the hospital parking lot.
Really?
Where'd you get the camper from?
We had it, so my parents brought it up for us.
Yeah.
So stocked it with food and everything, and
that's awesome.
So yeah, because I didn't really get to recover from having him. I just left and had to kind of heal on my own. So having a bed to go back to every night was nice. So
they didn't give you any crap for sleeping in the hospital parking lot?
So they actually have spots for parents to bring campers up.
Really?
Stay.
Oh, wow.
Like extended stays. So they have electrical hookups and stuff. You don't have water, but we would shower at the hospital and then just use a camper for a place to sleep. And we had snacks and food there and a fridge and stuff like that. So
I imagine it would have added up a lot if you had to stay in hotels or something. Yeah,
and the rooms up there, we were at St. Louis Children's Hospital. The rooms up there, I mean, you can stay in them, but by the time you have like they call it a draft bed, and it's where the baby is, and then it has a warmer over it to keep their temperature okay. So with all the medication, like their body temperature just fluctuates so much. So by the time you have that big bed, plus there's stands of medicine pumps that they pump through their IVs, and then like Bentlee was on a ventilator, so we have the ventilation system there. I mean, you barely have room to walk.
Yeah.
So we had a recliner in there, and then just a regular chair, and that's pretty much just where we sat. There was like a little couch, but you can hardly get to it because there's just so much stuff. So, and the couch is like 6 inches wide, so it's not really a place to sleep. So, plus trying to recover from having a baby, I needed to be propped up as much as I could be. So, so it was a toll. We're still back and forth pretty often. Bentlee looks great. He recovered really well, but there is no cure for congenital heart defects, which I think is kind of like a misconception that people see as like, oh, well, he had surgery, he must be fixed, but that's not the case. Because his heart grew a certain way, they can only mend it to work as optimally as their medicine abilities allow them to. So he's got like narrowing in his pulmonary artery, which is what sends blood to the lungs. So he's got, they call it turbulence, so it doesn't flow like it needs to. The top part of his heart is enlarged, so they have to watch that pretty closely. And then they don't know, things could change. Bentlee may need a heart transplant. They just don't know right now. So that's kind of something that people don't really realize is it's lifelong. I mean, he'll have to have cardiac care the rest of his life. he will forever have to just be monitored and make sure that we don't have to switch his medication, or he doesn't need a heart transplant or another catheter procedure. And so he'll be followed the rest of his life, which is good, but forever we will be back and forth to doctors taking him. And so it's a process. It's a journey for sure. So with that, he has his immune deficiency. You've probably seen we do the infusions.
Does he just gets sick easily? Is that what you're talking about? Or?
Yeah, so when they do open heart surgery, the heart is actually the size of a walnut when a baby is born.
Okay.
So we have what's called a thymus gland that lays over the heart. So in order to access the heart, they have to remove the thymus gland, which is what creates our immune system. So when you take that out, your body is not producing the cells that it needs to fight off viruses, bacteria, things like that. So we went through a period with Bentlee where he was so sick so often. We were landing in the emergency room with cellulitis, E. coli, all sorts of just weird random things. So we had some testing done. It came back that his body just doesn't create antibodies, so it has no remembrance of how to fight off
old viruses and stuff.
So we have to do, now it's going to be monthly infusions. We've changed his treatment plan. So we'll be back and forth to the hospital once a month to do those. But it basically just gives him antibodies so he doesn't have to be a boy in a bubble. So it's a process, but through it we have found that we can give back to families who are also going through similar struggles. So the Children's Heart Foundation does a congenital heart walk every year in St. Louis and other areas in the country. So we've set up Team Bentlee. So a bunch of us go up and we do the mile walk. We raise money for the Heart Foundation, which funds the most promising research for these kids. It's the number one birth defect, but receives very little funding. Just heartbreaking as a parent that has a child that goes through it. Because we know Bentlee wouldn't be here without the medical advancements and the research that's been done. So through Team Bentlee, we've actually started our own account where other families who are going through congenital heart defect battles and journeys, we're able to give back to them. So we, this past year, a friend of ours lost her heart baby. We were able to pay for the food for her funeral service. We send toys to the Heart Center in St. Louis, so they're always doing things for parents and kids. Christmas, we sent a bunch of stuff, so they do a big Christmas deal. So many families that are there struggle financially because they've left behind jobs or they've been fired because some parents
can't go to work or something like that.
Yeah, some parents are there 8 to 10 months, especially if their kiddo's waiting on a heart transplant. So we have been able to donate a bunch of toys. They let the parents go shop, and it's free to them, so they don't have to pay, but they can still get their spouse something or get their heart warrior something, other kids that they may have back at home that they've had to leave, and it takes the financial struggle off of them, and they still get to have that moment. So we've been able to participate in that, pay for travel for family.
Awesome.
It gets expensive when you're back and forth 3.5 hours, and some families even travel further than we do. So,
yeah.
But thankfully it was in St. Louis.
Yeah, why?
And not California
What's so
or
special
something
about
like that.
St. Louis versus any of the hospitals here in Springfield?
Springfield just really lacks a lot in technology. So St. Louis, they have got IV therapy. So kiddos that have really small veins that may be hard to stick, they've got the machines and the tools to make it to where they're not getting stuck 7, 8, however many times. St. Louis Children's Hospital is a teaching hospital, so they've got some of the best surgeons, nurses, and so the people that work there, have been trained very well. We have just not had the best experience here. There's just not a pediatric cardiologist surgeon that can operate the way that Bentlee needed his heart operated on in this area.
So you have someone you trust in St. Louis for sure. Have you ever considered moving to St. Louis? Has that ever been something that you guys...
So we have talked about it. We are not big city people. And St. Louis is another realm. It would be a lot. We're established here. Yeah. And thankfully, we are able to make the drive to take Bentlee to get care. So being a stay-at-home mom, my mom helps out a lot, so Creed can stay here and work. So we'll make a trip. St. Louis has a bunch of fun things to do, like the zoo is free. Yeah. And they've got other things, so we can go up and kind of make it a fun little trip. So although we're going for appointments and things that aren't so fun, we can still kind of
make a little trip out of it.
Make a little trip, yeah. But yeah, we've just been able, through the awful situation, we've been able to just give back and make good out of it, and help out other families that just take off the financial struggle for them, because we had so many people help us when we went through it. I don't think we would have made it without their help. So
it's crazy that we have the technology to do all these things, but that money is a huge roadblock for a lot of people.
Yes, and with switching Bentlee's medication, I got a letter from insurance the other day that was like, we're determining on if this medication is medically necessary. And I'm like, I'm glad that you get to determine.
Yeah.
That. And
they're going to decide if it's too expensive or not, basically.
Yeah. But it's if he has to have it, he has to have it. And it's unfortunate that financial barrier is there that gets put on parents. It's just something that they shouldn't have to worry about. So, although we can't fix every need, through Team Bentlee, we've been able to take off the worry about paying for gas there and back, or lodging, or not having toiletry items there. So we send a lot of stuff for moms who are there, who are nursing. They need stuff to store breast milk in and stuff like that. So that's been really nice. To raise that money, we've started doing little community events. So last September, we did a big raffle event. Businesses.
Are you doing that at your house, or where are you doing it at?
We did that at PKD venue here in Republic.
Oh yeah, by Big Whiskey's. Is that what that is?
So it is back behind Kirk's Collision.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I think I've seen that name, but I don't actually know what it is though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a restaurant. They have the best tacos.
Oh, really?
Best breakfast. Yeah.
I'll try it.
Those are my two favorite things.
I was thinking of that big office building behind Big Whiskey's for
the
some
one where
reason.
the Sotan is.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
It's not there, but so we go to church with the owners, and so they donated their space to let us use. So we did a big raffle event there, and a ton of local businesses donated amazing baskets. So we had a raffle item, we had food, the grill guys, Republic, they came out and grilled for us.
Awesome.
So that was awesome. We had princesses come out for the kids and had a kid zone. We had axe throwing, and all the money raised went to Team Bentlee Heart Walk team. So that went to the Children's Heart Foundation directly, and then part of it also just went to our Team Bentlee account, which is where we sent the gas cards, the lodging coverage, the toys, toiletries, paid for the family's dinner for the funeral. So this summer, June 3rd at 4 p.m. at Destiny Church in Republic in the parking lot, we're having a cornhole tournament. So it's a $50 team registration, and both people on the winning team each get a set of free customizable cornhole boards through Hood's Custom Creation. They're the ones that make our tumblers and stuff for Team Bentlee.
Is that a local business in Republic that makes that?
So he's in Springfield. It's he's right off Sunshine. It's just a little side business that he does to just support his family a little bit more on top of his job, but they're great people, and they'll actually set up at the cornhole tournament too with tumblers, so people can shop them there.
I guess I don't know what a tumbler is.
A cup,
Like
cup. Like the ones that Renee makes for you with the...
with the shake deal in it? Okay.
Just an insulated cup. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Like a Yeti cup.
Yeah. But he makes all sorts of cool designs. And then any that he sells, like at our events, he gives a percentage back to Team Bentlee. So it's really, they do so much for us. There will be like a kid zone again with princesses, a couple food trucks. Yeah, I think it'll be a really good time. So we're just raising money for Team Bentlee, and then we'll do the same thing. Any money raised will go to helping other families going through CHD journey with their kiddos, and then to Bentlee's Heart Walk team.
Yeah, and what's the best, easiest way for people to help out, basically,
So we have a Venmo set up, so it's just Team Bentlee, and it is a little Superman logo. We call Bentlee Superman. So it's a little Superman logo, just Team Bentlee is the Venmo name. Bentlee is spelled with 2 E's, so we spell it a little differently.
I wouldn't have guessed that.
We also have a Facebook fundraiser on the Team Bentlee page that is directly to his Heart Walk team through the Children's Heart Foundation. So that is a way. And then we have a bank account set up at Mid-Missouri Bank, and it's under Team Bentlee as well. You can make a deposit directly into it. So
cool.
Or just message us. We can pick up a check or cash or however you feel led to give, and we can take the deposit ourselves. So
thanks for coming on, and
thank you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, guys, if you can help her out, that'd be awesome to help her financially and help other people that got heart issues. And
we're thankful to be able to do it, so it makes it a little easier on us to go through it, knowing that we can bring something good out of it and help others.
Yeah, it sounds like it's one of those things where it just needs more exposure for people to know about. I've never really heard people talk about it.
Until it happened to us, and it's the most common birth defect, and it affects 1 in 110 babies.
Wow.
40,000
Wow,
kids. 40,000
that's a lot.
Kids a year. Every 15 minutes, a baby gets diagnosed.
Is there any chance for, if in the future he needed a heart transplant, would that relieve some of the problems he has now?
Yeah, so it's hard to say because I feel like with congenital heart defects, since Bentlee's defect has been corrected, it's now considered congenital heart disease because he just has lasting effects. But with it, there's just no set, this is how it's going to be. So it's hard to say. Everything is always kind of appointment by appointment basis, and we just wait to find out what's next.
Yeah, I imagine as he grows, things change a lot,
Yeah. And his heart is still growing. It's still not even reached its full size.
Yeah.
So as it grows, we may encounter new things, or it may correct itself. So it's just wait and see kind of thing. So it's always something.
But it's awesome that you're helping other people out with it. So
yeah, we're thankful. We felt extremely led to make good out of it. So a ton of people helped us, a ton of the foundations and random strangers. So if we can just be that light for somebody else, then it makes it worth it.
Mm-hmm.
So
perfect. Well, we'll I guess in this. Yeah.